Alrighty guys, today we're going to talk about fire extinguishers. Alright. Introduction. My name is Greg Wood. I've been with the Oklahoma Island Fire District for about 5 years. I've been in the fire service for around 7.5. So I have had a little bit of training on extinguishers and fire suppression, stuff like that. And obviously my fire extinguisher experience is about 7.5 years. Introduction. Today we're going to talk about fire extinguishers. We're going to talk about how fire extinguishers are used at many different incidences and the types of incidents that they are used at. Like I said, you can use them for car fires, small brush fires, dumpster fires. You can even use them on interior fires if they're in the incipient phase of that fire. They're real good to use. They're portable, they're light. You can take them in with you whenever you go to investigate what's going on. But the one important thing to know is when you need to move from an extinguisher to a hand line, because you don't really have a whole lot of time to play around. Being able to use one quickly and efficiently, it saves property and it can even save lives. You know, if the fire's out, everybody's safe. You know, there's no more danger. And like I said, it's critical to understand the difference from when you need to go to an extinguisher to when you need to go to a hand line. Like I said, there's a small margin for you to get that right. So definitely need to pay attention and have it with you. And it's not, you know, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and pull a hand line. You know, not charge it, but you can go ahead and pull it if you think that it's going to be bigger, if it's going to be an extended incident to where an extinguisher is not going to cover it. All right, today's goal, at the end of this lesson, the recruit, or you guys, will be able to properly utilize a fire extinguisher. Hopefully, this is just a refresher for everybody. Hopefully, you already know how to operate when you're in this room. All right. Learning objectives, describe the classes and uses for a fire extinguisher, describe the PASS acronym, and demonstrate the use of a fire extinguisher. The PASS acronym is a pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. It's just to help you remember what you need to do whenever you're deploying an extinguisher. Alright, the classes of extinguishers, they're broken down into 4 separate classes. Class A is for ordinary combustible fires, stuff like wood, paper, just ordinary in-the-house stuff, not couches, stuff like that, just regular wood things. It's marked with a green triangle, and it's typically water, carbon dioxide, or a dry chemical. Water is the best for these. You can use some kind of wetting agent or a foam to put in there with it. Also, whenever you are discharging, you want to kind of keep your finger over the nozzle and kind of disperse some of that water and that foaming agent that you have in there. It kind of gets a better reach on it, and it helps with extinguishing the fire. Alrighty, Class B fires. This is your flammable liquid fires. Like if you're at a car accident, you have gas fire, stuff like that. Any kind of flammable liquid you can use these on. It's marked with a red square. It's typically foam, halon, carbon dioxide, or dry chemical. Class C fires. Let's see, these are used on fires that are near electrical equipment. If you have an electrical room and you have a fire in there, you obviously don't want to put anything that can energize you or anybody near you. It's marked with a blue circle, and it's typically halon, carbon dioxide, dry chemical. You never want to use water on these. Like I said, you run the risk of electrocution, and that's something that nobody wants to get into. Nobody wants to mess with electricity. That's the one thing that scares me more than anything. All right, Class D fires. These are combustible metals, marked with a yellow star, and they're typically dry powder. You never want to use water, because water will react with the metal and cause a bigger fire than you originally have. It'll cause a reaction. There'll be a lot of sparking and a lot of flames. So you always want to make sure you have an extinguisher that's rated for Class D fire. And there's different types of extinguishers for the different types of metals that are in these fires. Some cars have metals in the engine blocks, so you want to be real careful if you're fighting a car fire and you're using water and you start having a reaction. you want to go get your extinguisher that's for a Class D fire. All right, the 6 basic type of extinguishers, these are extinguishing agents. Like I said, for your Class A extinguishers would be water. That's what's in your Class A is water. And as the name implies, its primary extinguishing agent is water. You can use foam or some kind of wetting agent in there with water and air pressure, and that's how it basically runs. The range is up to 40 feet, but if you put your finger over the hose like this, whenever you're spraying, your range is going to be cut down, but you're going to have a wider angle, and you're going to disperse some of that water and that wetting agent a little further to the sides when you're doing it. They can discharge for up to 1 minute, and it can be mixed, like I said, with foam or a wetting agent. And I showed you how to create the fog-like pattern, with this type of agent. The dry chemical agent, the discharge time can be 10 seconds to 30 seconds or more. It just depends on how big of an extinguisher you're using, and what you need it for. It can be corrosive to the electrical equipment, so you kind of want to be careful. If you're around sensitive stuff. Mainly our job is protection of property, so this is something we want to take into consideration. If you have to discharge one of these extinguishing agents, kind of clean up. You have to clean up after it, so that you don't corrode the remaining intact electrical equipment. Especially if you're going to a place that's that matters. And so definitely make sure you do your overhaul with it. Clean it up. All right, carbon dioxide, CO2 extinguishers. These are the ones that have the big horn on the end of the hose, and they don't have a gauge to tell you, how good they're done by weight. It's used to reduce the oxygen aspect of the fire tetrahedron. This displaces oxygen, which takes away one of the key components of the tetrahedron, which will smother your fire out. It must be close to the fire, and discharge time can be seconds. It can be a little longer. It just depends on how big of a CO2 extinguisher you have, and what you're going to use it for. And it discharges at low temperature, so you always want to make sure that you're wearing your PPE, because you can get freezer burn from these if you don't use them properly. And nobody wants to get hurt when you're already dealing with a dangerous situation. You don't want to make it worse by not wearing PPE. And that goes for all these extinguishers. You want to wear all your PPE when dealing with them. Clean agent. These are rated for Class B and C fires. They require a little cleanup. This is stuff like your halon units that were used for those sensitive electronics or stuff like that, where you don't want to have the corrosion, but you need something to put the fire out, displace the oxygen. These are very dangerous, because if you don't know that they've gone off and you go into that compartment, there's no oxygen and you could die. It's a very serious thing, so you need to make sure if you have them in your district or wherever you're at that you're aware of it. Discharge times vary by size and type of unit. Like I said, they can be small or they can be big units. They can be units that are for huge electric rooms, all kinds of in boats. I know boats used to use them. But halon has stopped being used as much. They have new clean agents that are out on the market that are a little bit safer. Halon has been found to be destructive to the ozone layer, so for all the dry powder. A lot of people get confused with dry chemical. It's not the same. It's used on Class D fires. Does not have to have a considerable reach. You can even use this stuff. You can throw it on with a shovel. It just depends on how it's packed for you. It should be used with deep fires. Should be used cautiously with deep fires due to extreme heat put off from these types of fires. These fires can burn hot, very hot. So you have to be careful. Make sure you're fully bunked out when using this. You don't want to get hurt when you fight one of these fires. All right, wet chemical. This is used in kitchen suppression systems. When you have stuff like oil, cooking oil, stuff like that. What it does is it puts down the wet chemical, and it creates a chemical reaction called saponification, where it kind of turns that oil into a soapy substance. It discharges in a fine mist as to it doesn't interrupt or agitate the top of the oil, which can cause splattering. So it discharges in a fine mist, and it can discharge for around a minute. You know, like I said, it just kind of depends on the system that's being used and how much of it's there and what it's protecting. So, all right, now we're going to get into the PASS acronym and how to activate and use a fire extinguisher. For the P, you want to pull the pin out of the fire extinguisher, and there's going to be pictures, but I'll just show you here. You have this pin right here, so you're going to want to break this seal and pull this pin out, because this thing's not going to discharge with that pin still in there. You're going to want to aim to where you're going, so you just take the nozzle and kind of aim where you want it to go. And you want to shoot it kind of at the base of the fire. Squeeze the handle, and that discharges where discharges the stuff that's inside here. And then sweep. So you're at the base of the fire, and you just sweep back and forth. Here's your demonstration. This is a ABC. You want to select the appropriate extinguisher based on the size and type. Obviously, you don't want to take this if you have a fully involved car fire. I mean, it's not really going to be that effective. That's when you're going to need a hand line or something like that. So you want to inspect the extinguisher to ensure serviceability and good pressure. All of these, except for the CO2s, have the gauge right here that shows in the green, and it has a yellow needle. You want to make sure that yellow needle is always in the green. All right, and then you want to make sure that it's been service tested. We have all of ours are service tested here. So, and it'll also tell you specifications on the back, the UL listing and stuff like that. So, all right. Pull the safety pin at the top of the extinguisher, break the plastic seal in the process. So like I said, you just pull this out quickly, and it's ready to go. Point the nozzle or horn in a safe direction. This is a CO2. You see the horn right here? That's a CO2 extinguisher. And the safe direction, discharge in a very short burst to ensure proper operation. It's kind of like bleeding your hose line. You want to make sure that it's working. You want to make sure your driver has a good pressure. It's the same with these. You want to make sure they're working. Even though they say they're good, they can still be bad. So you definitely want to make sure that they're working before you go trying to fight a fire. Put yourself in a bad situation. All right. Carry the extinguisher to within string reach of the fire. Now, like I said earlier, the distance is going to vary. It's really just going to depend on what kind of extinguisher you're using. Water can go up to 40 feet. These other ones, don't go that far. If you're trying to displace oxygen, you want to be kind of a lot closer than 40 feet. So, know what you're working with. Aim the nozzle or horn at the base of the material that is burning. See how he's kind of aiming right here at the start of this fire right here. That's where you want to go. And then squeeze and carry handle and the discharge handle together to start flowing the agent. Release the handle to stop flow. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. There is no halfway. It's either all the way or no way. So open it up. You're either going to use it or you're not going to use it. So open it up all the way. Start at the base and just sweep back and forth, kind of inching your way closer as the fire goes out. All right. And as you see here, he's aiming at the base, discharging the agent. He's sweeping back and forth as he gets closer, and then obviously it's out there, so he's good to go. All right, you always want to watch for rekindles, watch for the smoldering, reignition of flammable liquids, because like I said, if you're dealing with flammable liquids and it's creating a slick over the top of the flammable liquid to smother it, you want to make sure that film doesn't break through and it restart again, because then you're out of agent, you're in a little bit of trouble. So always want to make sure that the fire's out and do proper overhaul. Make sure that you're good to go, make sure everything's good before you leave and call it under control. All right, and this just has some guys backing away from the fire area. They're still in the ready mode. They have all their PPE on that they need, the gloves, the vest, the helmet, the eye protection, the smoke protection. Although it'd be better if they had, SCBA on if the smoke conditions were bad enough. You definitely don't want to mess around with that. Alrighty guys, here's the summary. I know this is kind of a little quick class, but it's just kind of a refresher on it. Firefighters must always be aware and informed of how to operate the extinguisher to gain maximum benefit from a limited source. This is a limited source. You know, it's just like tank water. You're a limited source. You have a couple of minutes on your tank. You only have a few seconds with this, so make sure it's effective. Make sure that you're doing a good job. You can put out a lot of fire with this. So you just want to, keep on and be a professional. Using a fire extinguisher on a fire that's too big for it to handle is wasting time that could be used to begin a proper fire attack. Those seconds count, especially when there's life involved. If you come off the truck and you pick the wrong tool for the job, you're at a disadvantage already, and you've just gotten off the truck. So you always want to make sure that you're using the proper thing for the fire conditions. In city stage fires for structures, it's not a bad idea to use the proper extinguisher. But if you're not comfortable with that, then take the hose line. You can't go wrong there. You don't want to be wasting time. So this could be the difference between losing control of the fire or quickly suppressing it. So just be mindful of that. Keep that in mind. All right, summary of the learning objectives. Describe the classes and uses for a fire extinguisher. Describe the PASS acronym, which we did, and demonstrate the use of a fire extinguisher. There's a little Homer Simpson there. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. If not, thanks for attending the class.